Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. Namaskara. Hello and welcome to the 130th MFI YouTube live session. We are really delighted to have you all at this session. Today, we are here to discuss which path one should choose. Is it karma or jnana? And I'm sure that we all get these questions every day. And we are absolutely here to break down these concepts of karma and Gnana Yoga into 5 questions which we all encounter in our daily lives. So, should one know about God or act on his teachings? Or is it better to just meditate at home or go out and serve the society? When can I pursue materialistic wealth, and is it dear to God? And does our karma also include my professional work? And I'm sure we are all professional employees and we go through this question. And finally, how do I make mundane questions quite interesting? So let's get answer to these questions by welcoming Sunder Madakshira. And Sundar is the India CEO of Rezolve, and he serves as a member of the National Digital Innovation Council of the PM and a keen student of Madhva philosophy. And I'm sure he's constantly navigating the karma and the Gnana Yoga situation in his life. So with this context in mind, so let's welcome Sunder Madakshira. Hi Sundar, welcome to 130th MFI live session. How are you?
Thanks, Santosh. I'm absolutely fine. Namaskara, Elrigo. Very nice to see that everyone has joined this session, and we understand why. Because what we are seeing today as the topic has been the culmination of the questions and comments that we have got over the years, and we are wanting to answer them upfront. So, thanks for having me here, Santosh.
Thanks, Sundar. Sundar, I have this question of karma and dhyana. Is it independent? Like we encounter these questions in daily lives, which is more important? Some say it is dhyana and some say it's karma. And our philosophies are also debated in a way that each are different and each one is more important than the other. How do you look at this scenario?
Absolutely. No, I think it's a very common question and it's a very relevant question. Because I think if you look at the place where it is addressed most starkly, it's in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavata, Mahabharata, and many other texts also talk about what is more important, the Gnana or karma. The Brahma Sutras are very elaborate on the topic, and all that is discussed at length. But the best part is, I think they are all very consistent and they are all giving us the same answer that is there in the other text. So we will look at what the Bhagavad Gita has to offer from the point of view of Karma Yoga and Gnana Yoga, right? So the way I look at it is, there is a grand design that Krishna has laid out at the very opening of the Bhagavad Gita, right? We all know the context. It's a very unique context of one of the greatest archers of his times, one of the greatest warriors of his times, one of the most knowledgeable people of his times, Arjuna, in a state of depression. And he's asking certain questions. And whatever Krishna gives him as the answer forms the Bhagavad Gita. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is back on his feet and fights a very valiant war and clearly emerges as one of the most significant contributors in that the war between dharma and adharma. It was not an ordinary situation because this was the start of the war. And imagine your number one A-team player is injured or is not in a state to fight the war. What will happen to the rest of the people who are dependent on that situation? So in that, the Gita actually outlines 3 different types of yogas: the Karma Yoga, the Gnana Yoga, and the Bhakti Yoga. In subsequent workshops, we will talk more about what Karma Yoga is, what is Gnana Yoga, and what constitutes the Bhakti Yoga. But at the broad level, there are 3 types of yogas which are defined. Now, the central message of the Bhagavad Gita in the third, fourth, and the fifth chapters is the fact that the Karma Yoga and the Gnana Yoga are entirely complementary. They are something which complement each other. So karma goes along with gnana, and goes along with karma. And at some point, the borders between them become, totally translucent. You cannot see the difference between karma yoga and gnana yoga, because at some stage this would have got integrated. But understanding the process of bliss, right, is something that I have tried to lay down. So on the right side you will see a very complicated looking flow chart. Many of us are from engineering and science background, so we are used to putting everything in a flow chart. And this flow chart did not come from me, it has come from Bhagavad Gita itself. And Gita Bhashya and Gita Tatparya of Sri Madhvacharya elaborates it precisely in this particular format that you see. So, Santosh, if you can bring back the slide, the way this built is that whenever we want to start our journey to be happy, which is that state of bliss, if it is eternal, it becomes moksha, or even a state of happiness and tranquility. It starts with us assuming some basic knowledge. We need to get knowledge about in the field that we want to be in. And in the spiritual field, it's the spiritual knowledge. So, whatever we do as a part of the Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the first step towards taking and reaching that moksha. From here, start the karma. And I will come to what is karma in the next slide. But the next step is karma. With karma, what happens is we have the purification of the mind, or what is called Antaranga Shuddhi, which is that we our mind goes into a state of peace and tranquility when we are ready to absorb the gnana or the spiritual knowledge. That needs to what is called as the samanya gnana, which is understanding of the spiritual concepts at a fairly broad level. And over a period of time, that samanya gnana becomes aproksha gnana, and that with bhagavad prasada, or the blessing of the god, leads to moksha, right? I will let you read this flowchart in detail later on, and I won't like to spend too much time in it. But the central point here is what comes on the left side, which is the grace of God, or Bhagavad Prasada, or karma, has to be performed at every stage in our lives and beyond as well. There is no going away from karma, even for the most evolved souls in the world. So, it is karma and gnana which will take us to that state of bliss. Ultimately, it will be the gnana which will actually get us to that state of bliss, as is very clear from this flowchart. But what is important to note is that karma and gnana are complementary, and they go hand in hand, right? So with that grand design, let's look at what karma is through our first question that we have. So here, the first question that we have is, should I know about God or act on His teachings? This is a very common question, right? And it is said that, look, textbook knowledge doesn't help. So we should be out there and get some practical knowledge. That's what we are told in every field that we are in. But knowing about God is the only way we get salvation. For example, let us say there is a doctor. What does a doctor do? A doctor is taught theory and is also taught the practical world. In the practical world, is actually taught what is dissection, how do you perform a surgery, how do you give treatment, how do you diagnose somebody, and so on and so forth. The same thing happens in an engineering course, right? So there is a theory class, and there are a bunch of other things that an engineering student undergoes all his life in order to understand these concepts in a practical way. That could be working in an assignment, that could be working on a project, that could be doing an internship in some place, and so on and so forth. So every field has got a mix of gnana, and it's got the topic of karma going together. Nowhere will you see this separated. And whenever there is a separation, what happens is our efforts become suboptimal. And the same thing goes for our spiritual pursuit as well. So, knowing about God is the only way to liberation. Our Vedas, our Upanishads are crystal clear about this, saying Aproksha Gnana is the only way to reach God, to understand God, and get that state of bliss. Without that state of, without attaining that gnana, a human being does not become a human being. The very definition of the word nara, it comes from the word nara, which is actually someone who has got knowledge. So if a person does not have knowledge, it is, he's called an animal. Vidya vihinasha pashuhu gnane naiva parampadam. So it's what it clearly says is, if somebody has to attain and go up and elevate himself spiritually, then the only way to do that is to actually have knowledge and spiritual knowledge at that. The Purusha Sukta is also equally clear. Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. That without getting the gnana, nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. There is no other path, guys. So don't search for any other path. It's very rare that some words and some concept gets repeated in a Veda Sukta, but in Purusha Sukta, it is very clearly said three times. Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya tameva vidwan amritamiha bhavati. Only the people, the vidwan or the someone who is knowledgeable, can actually get amrita or the state of moksha. So forget the state of moksha. It may look at something which is very long, and we will definitely strive for it. But even in the short and medium term, you will realize that we get peace only when we have knowledge about what is happening around us. Let us say there's a power failure. Everybody is panicking. Does the electrician panic? He doesn't panic because he's got knowledge, right? Similarly, there is something which goes wrong when somebody is driving. The person who knows about the car or how to get over the challenges, the mechanic never panics. He's very calm, he's very collected, and he just does what he's supposed to do. Look at a surgeon performing a surgery. Everybody around must be thinking, oh my god, he's cutting open somebody's throat, blood splattering all over the place. Does the doctor panic? No. He knows that when he's going to cut, the blood will ooze out, and he will be able to rectify the situation. So similarly, in the spiritual world, if we don't understand God, if we don't understand about ourselves, we will not be able to be in that state of bliss. We will not be able to solve our problems. How do we solve problems? Right? For example, a printer you have connected, it's not working. What do? Immediately you go to YouTube, try to find out what has gone wrong, and find out. The moment you get that knowledge, do you panic? No. So in the spiritual world, that gnana is of something which is very, very important to us. So here, Nanya Pantha Ayanaya Vidyate, Tameva Vidvan Amritamiha Bhavati. There is also another shloka of Bhagavad Gita which is there in front of you. Of course, as I said, second, third, fourth, and fifth chapters of Bhagavad Gita have many shlokas which actually support this. So the point here is, should I know about God or act on his teachings? Both are important. So let me give you a curious case of Ananya Sanyal. She is one of our attendees of our workshop, and she had sent the question early. So I'm sharing that with her permission. She has granted us permission to use her name and what question that she was undergoing. So she's from Calcutta, and she had this question: whether should I know about God or act on his teachings? So her dilemma was that she is a person who comes from a very illustrious family of lawyers, and they've always believed that knowing and knowledge is something which is very important, and acting on it was probably something that they took as secondary. But here what we are saying is, knowing about God, only that will give meaning to what we have learned about his teachings. To know about God and act on his teachings, what do you need? You need to know what his teachings are. So the karma charane and the gnana are something which go together. They are parallel tracks. They go together. Then you cannot choose one over the other. Can you choose that? Which is more important, the left hand or the right hand? That's not the right question. So in this case study, the way we responded to Ananya was that both are important, and one needs to go hand in hand. Now, when you look at the concept of knowing or gnanarjana or gnana yoga, it is something which one has to do throughout his life and beyond. And his acting, as we have seen in the flowchart, that his actions actually embellish his knowledge, and his knowledge embellishes his actions, right? So, very simple example. I'm sure many of us know how to drive a car, or at least would love to know how to drive a car or even a bike. What happens on the day one when the instructor looks at you? He's going to tell you, you know what you should do is that this is called the accelerator, this is called the brake, this is called the clutch, ABC, right? And they tell you this is the steering, this is how you have to start the car, this is how you have to move, this is how to change the gear, and so on and so forth. So that is what is called knowledge. But as the student goes on to day one, and then he goes to day two, day three, day four, and someday he becomes an expert. When he becomes an expert, he doesn't sit in the car and say, oh, this is the accelerator, this is the brake, and this is the clutch. He just does it seamlessly, right? So this is what happens in our spiritual pursuit as well. At some stage, whatever is your karma and whatever is your gnana actually become complementary to each other, and therefore both karma charana and gnanarjana are very important topics. So with that, we can come to the next question, Santosh, that we have. And if you could bring up that slide. Is it better to meditate, in general, perform rituals, or serve the society? Right. Let me start with a actual question that we got from one of our respondents. Avantika is her name. She's a software engineer who works in Hyderabad. And what happened was she moved to Hyderabad, and as when she joined the software company that she was working, she was actually invited to join the CSR team of the company. And she started working on an initiative where she would teach underprivileged and poor children English and mathematics, two subjects which apparently they were always weak in. And over a period of time, she got into this dilemma, saying, look, at home I'm told I have to perform these rituals. I've been performing a lot of, I recite some shlokas, I sit and meditate, and so on and so forth. But there is so much happening in the society, right? How do I, when I'm supposed to do so much, is it right for me to spend so much time and efforts just performing rituals? Or should I serve God through these social initiatives? The answer is both are essential, right? Provide the focus is on God and the prayer that we have for Him. So when we do karma charana, or when we perform these rituals, etc., and we'll come to a detailed definition of karma in our subsequent slides, when we do that, what really happens is the fact that we are able to visualize who is God, who are the other gods who are in the hierarchy. How do we understand them? What is my purpose? Every step in a ritual actually embellishes us spiritually. We get energized. How, one may say, how can that happen? So when you perform a meditation, or when you recite or chant a mantra, it energizes you. I think all of us have had this experience. There are several theories on how this works, and we will talk about it in some of our later workshops about how mantras actually activate us, how different parts of our body activate us. With that kind, and it puts us very importantly, and this is something which is there in scarcity, if I may say, where we say, are people in a right and positive frame of mind? It's very important to be in a positive frame of mind. So immediately the rituals that we perform puts us in that frame of mind, which says whatever I am doing today is actually an act of pleasing God. It is a prayer to us, and we will end the workshop telling us how we should do it exactly. So, is it better to meditate or serve the society? Both are essential, provided everything is focused on God and how we pray to Him. Meditation and the performance of rituals. Sri Raghavendra Swamiji elaborates this in Gita Vivritti, very clearly says the best way and probably the only way to transform oneself is actually through meditate on God. Because whatever we do, it appears that we have changed, but some of our challenges remain with us all our lives. We don't seem to be able to overcome. And what do we say? Oh, that is his nature, that is her nature, we can't change it. But the only way to change oneself is to actually meditate and come out of those challenges and pray to God that, look, this is one challenge I'm having. Is there anything that I can overcome? Please help me overcome. And with the grace of God, we are able to overcome these challenges. It could be even some simple things. Many people can't focus. Many people are are perennial procrastinators. That means they keep postponing. I'm sure a lot of us have these problems. Try what you may, you can attend a lot of training programs, but still somehow we are not able to overcome these basic challenges. The some people get angry very very soon, for example. It's not something that one can overcome that easily. So therefore, in order for us to be able to elevate ourselves and transform ourselves, meditation and performance of the rituals is actually very essential. Now, one can choose that, is it better than serving the society? Both have to go hand in hand, because as people who are born in the society and somewhere very fortunate to have been privileged in the society, it's our duty to help those people who do not have what it takes to even lead a decent life. So for Avantika to continue her work in the NGO that she is a part of is a great thought. But look at the way she will go and work in and serve the society if she's performed her rituals and she's in that meditative and spiritual frame of mind. Because when she goes and works there, she will not look at children there. She will look at Lord Krishna in all those children, and she'll have the privilege of actually teaching Lord Krishna mathematics and English, and not those children alone. So there is a very different frame of mind one will have. So therefore, Avantika overcame her dilemma. We had several discussions with her, and I'm glad that she's now come to that state where she, of course, leads a very busy life, like many of us, or most of us, or all of us, I would say. And what she's done is that she learned how to perform these rituals, how to perform her meditation, everything in a short period of time, in a smart way, by planning, so that she doesn't spend too much time. Because one of the frequent questions is, where do we have the time to perform all this? I think the best way to do this is to plan it, be prepared for it, and know how to do it smartly. So instead of doing puja, somebody does not have time to do puja for 4 hours. How does he do it in 15 minutes? Our shastras, right, are are extremely benevolent. Our shastras, our scriptures have ways in which people could do things in a shorter period of time. Every day we should recite Vishnu Sahasrama. We all love to do it, but there could be days when one does genuinely does not have time. So what do you do? Again, go to Vishnu Sahasrama, go to Padma Purana. You will hear the conversation between Parvati and Shiva, where Parvati is asking, Keno Payana Laguna Vishnor Nama Sahasrakam. How do you Patite Pandite Nityam Shotumicchamaham Prabhu? She is requesting Lord Shiva that if one has to recite Vishnu Sahasrama quickly, how does he do it? So imagine, but Vishnu Sahasranama is long, but Lord Shiva says, just say Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Ramanama Varanani. Somebody, just recite this one shloka, it is equivalent to reciting Vishnu Sahasranama. Somebody may not have time to make an elaborate Naivedya and offer it to God, but he can say, look, today I don't have the time to do this. Can I offer whatever I have? And we all know the famous Bhagavad Gita shloka, which says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. These are enough. One drop of water, one tulasi, one flower is all that Lord Krishna asks you to offer, provided it is offered with bhakti. So let us all learn that karma acharane, or performance of the karma yoga, is absolutely mandatory at all our stages in the spiritual evolution, and one has to go, step by step. So the next question that is there is, when I pursue materialistic wealth, is it dear to God? So there is obviously a guilt that some of us have, which says that when I pursue materialistic wealth, is it dear to God? Does God like me to do that? And here is what we say: wealth is power and essential. Having money, having wealth is very important, because whatever we want to achieve, we can achieve when we have wealth. The wealth, the question in our mind is wealth materialistic or spiritual, right? But clearly wealth, as they say, does not have color. It is neither materialistic, it's nor spiritual. It is the purpose for which you are using that wealth which determines whether it is materialistic or spiritual, right? And that's a very important part. We can all get salary. We all may be earning a salary. People say, oh my god, I have to earn a salary because I want a bigger car. I want a salary because I want to go to a bigger, move into a bigger house, right? I want to buy jewelry, which is all very, which are very commonly held desires. But you should never let that desire, that attachment, and that materialism overcome you. This is what is the downward path that leads to destruction. And that flow chart is nothing but the expression of Bhagavad Gita, which are the 62nd and the 63rd shloka of the second chapter, which says that when you are going towards materialism, materialism leads to attachments. You become physically attached. Wanting a car, is there's nothing wrong with it, but to say I'll die without that car is something which means that's bringing attachment. Nobody has ever died because he didn't have a car, right? So that is attachment. Those attachment leads to desires, because now it's changed. It's not a want, it's not their need, it is a desire. That desire leads to anger, because when you don't get it, or something doesn't happen the way you want it, that anger is, it manifests. And anger, in it leads to jealousy. So Santosh, if you could bring up that slide, we'll go through that. When the moment people have that anger and jealousy, their mental balance is lost. So they started having illusions, moha, as they call it. And that leads to a mental illness, because now your brain is not capable of clear thinking at all, and that leads to destruction. This is the chart that, this is the flow chart with Gita itself says. So when I pursue materialistic wealth, is it dear to God? Sudeep had a very similar question. Sudeep Raghavendran is from Chennai. He moved to he was heading the regional sales office of a large IT product company in Chennai, and he was given a promotion. But at the same time, what he did was that he was also pursuing his spiritual journey, and he had this question: suppose I move to a different place or take up this promotion, will it not take me away from spirituality? And over a period of time, he's resolved this dilemma. He has said, yes, I'm very happy that God has given me the opportunity to serve the society. So, whatever wealth I get, I'm going to use it for a social purpose. I'm going to use it for a spiritual purpose. Money, as they say, does not have color. But so, therefore, you can use money, you can use any resource and materialistic wealth to reach that state of, spiritual bliss using the same money. So the same thing, a thief and a surgeon both have the same tool, a knife, but what you purpose for which you use it is what is going to determine it. So pursuing spiritual materialistic wealth, there's nothing wrong, as long as you don't let it overpower your thinking and put you in that state of bliss. So, like Sudeep, we will all learn that yes, it may happen that we may get opportunity to pursue wealth, we will get wealth, we will use wealth in the right way, right? Gita says, deliberately uses a word which says, karma yeva samsiddhim astidaha janakadayaha. It says that, imagine, how should one perform karma like King Janaka did. Imagine, he was not just a king, he was a Chakravarti, the emperor. And none of us have that kind of, don't even have that kind of wealth. He had that kind of wealth. He was a great king. He performed his role as a king very, very efficiently. Sometimes it meant that you go and attack another country. You actually acquire that country to integrate it with your own country. They performed Rajasuya Yagna, which is actually going around, Ashwamedha Yagna, which was actually to go around different places and get those kings to submit to you as being superior. Why did they do all this? It was not to establish their greatness for that sake. They wanted to ensure that all those states which come under them also are run in the most dharmic way, right? So when the famous Mahabharata war was being fought, what did Arjuna say? Why should I fight this war? Just now you told me Gnana is greater than karma. So why should I fight this war? Let me take the path of Gnana. Let me go away and do it. Just go and do Nanarjana, or acquiring of spiritual knowledge. Why should I fight this war where I have to kill so many people and so on? These are questions that we get every single day ourselves. So, therefore, materialistic wealth itself is not wrong. But what is wrong is to use it in a negative way, and use it and not use it for the betterment of the society and betterment of everyone who probably really needs that kind of wealth. So, it's not a bad idea to be a Robin Hood, as they say, which is taking the wealth from the rich and giving it to the poor, uh, just as an anecdote. But clearly, the this question that we get. So let's not go with this dilemma to our office every day, saying, "Oh my God, I'm going there only to earn wealth." No, yes, you may be getting wealth out of it, but with that wealth, you can do a lot of things to help people who need it. The next question is on, does karma also include my professional work? It's a sort of corollary of the first question. The answer is yes. Karma includes professional work. So what is karma? Karma is activity or action which is done as per our stage in life. Ashramochita. That means we are at different stages. Somebody is a brahmachari when he's born, then he becomes a grihastha, then he becomes a vanaprastha, then he goes to sannyasa. These are the broad four stages. Now we can convert it into suit a more modern context and go on, but these are broadly what how the scriptures divide our lifespan into, or life cycle into. So depending on which part of your life you are, you have to perform a certain karma. Again, this is common sense, because when you were a student, you perform a different set of karmas, and when somebody is retired, that person does a different set of karma, but karma he has to perform. So karma, whatever is you one is supposed to do as per that stage in his life, he has to do it. So if a person is a grihastha, that means a person who belongs to a family and is running a family, as a person, it could be a man, it could be a woman, doesn't matter. But if that person is leading a family life, his duties remain as much as to the family as anybody else. It's a bad idea to neglect your family and then try and preach to the world. I hear this very often, and it's a very funny thing. Many people do not take care of their parents, but instead work in an NGO which is taking care of elderly people. it, this is not right, because the duty towards one parents, the duty towards one's spouse, the duty towards one's children comes first, and then you have the society and others are important. It is not to say that we should just take care of only ourselves, but taking care of the world cannot come at the expense of your basic duties. So the first definition of karma is ashramochita. The second one is as ordained by birth. We are all born in a particular to perform a certain duty, like a Brahmana, Kshatriya, and so on. We have to perform those duties. Arjuna is a warrior. He has to fight this battle of dharma. He has to fight a war. He cannot go and become an hermit or an ascetic or a sannyasi. There is a very famous story that I would like to share. You might have heard this before. So there was once a watchman who was asked to guard a large fort, and in the night he was sitting, and as the night grew, he was probably tired. He just went off to sleep. When he was sleeping, he got a dream that there was a there was the enemy who was trying to attack this particular kingdom. And in a startling effect, he woke up and he ran to the king and said, "King, I heard this. I got this thing in my dream that this there is an enemy who's trying to attack us." So he says, "Okay, maybe the king gets a doubt and says, maybe I should just check it out whether these people are planning to attack. Send some people and finds out that enemy is actually trying to attack him, and he would have been totally caught unawares. He gets his army ready. In fact, the enemy is now taken by surprise, because the king was already ready with his army. When the enemy attacked, they were rebuffed, defeated, and the king saved his kingdom, and very happy. So he called this watchman to the to the to his palace, and he said, I'm giving you a gift. I'm giving you a gift of, you know a golden necklace. You've done a great job. And the next thing he says, you're also fired. You're dismissed from your duty. So the watchman is startled, said, I gave you such important information, and you're asking me to, for the information that you gave, you have, you have been rewarded. But the fact that in the night, as a watchman, you were sleeping when you were supposed to guard the fort, is something that's unpardonable. That is what we say, vihita karma. It's very important. This vihita is a very important word. Niyata karma or vihita karma is very important, because all of us are ordained certain duties. At office, we all have certain roles and responsibilities. Can we skip that? Can we do something else? Will the company pay us? For example, there is a project manager. He has to work and manage his project. That's his fundamental duty. He can't say and say, let me also do some accounting. He can do that, provided he has completed his basic duty. Even the smallest person, the smallest work not done by somebody who is supposed to do it, can put us into very big trouble. Let me give an example. Every day in the evening, when I'm standing in the balcony, I see one person coming and switching on the street light. It's a very small task, and he's supposed to do it. But one day, imagine he doesn't come, there is darkness all around us, right? Polio drops, only 2 drops have to be taken. But if somebody doesn't do it, what happens? You know the consequences. So the consequences of our inaction, or we not performing what we are supposed to, are very grave for the society. So now, if a Brahmin is supposed to chant the Gayatri mantra and offer arghya, he's supposed to do that. That's what he's supposed to do, because without that, he he would not have completed what he was supposed to or ordained to do. So that's the second part of the karma. The third one is by profession or vocation. All of us have chosen a profession and a vocation. Earlier, as ordained by birth and by profession were the same. But in the modern era, that does not happen. Many of us would have chosen professions which are not exactly what is ordained by birth. That also perform comes under the topic of karma. So one cannot say, look, this morning I have recited all my prayers for hours together. That gives me a chance to be corrupt at work, not do my work properly, to be unfair to people at work, to cheat customers, or not perform my duty to the best possible extent. He cannot say that, because that is also a part of that, of his karma charana itself. So even that, if done in the right way and offered, the fruits of which are offered to God, saying that, okay, I have done my best, God, and if you can accept it as my offering to you, and whatever fruit you give me, I will accept it. That is also, that is as acceptable and as considerate as any other karma he is doing. So profession and vocation are very important. Next, by circumstances. By circumstances, some situations might ordain you to do certain things. So, for example, you are sitting and doing meditation. Suddenly, you see a child has fallen into the river. What do you do? That's led by a certain circumstance. Everything else can wait, but saving the child becomes more important. You're driving for a very important meeting. On the way, unfortunately, you see an accident happening, and somebody is injured and lying on. Your first duty is that of a human being. This meeting hopefully will be something that people will understand when you tell them that this is the situation, and they will immediately understand what's gone wrong, and that situation can be recreated again. The meeting can be reset, but this person who is bleeding on the street is not something, is not, his life is not going to come back. He may have to suffer irreparable losses in his life. So therefore, there are certain karma charane or kartavya or actions we have to do, because we are in a particular circumstance. And last one, And most importantly, karma charane is all about, you know, doing something which is dear to God. That's very, very curious, very, very important. Everything that we do, the one, two, three, four, if done right and offered to God, converts itself into a spiritual wealth, right? What do we do? All our life we accumulate wealth, we earn money. What do we do every time? We say, oh my God, I have to invest. I have to get the best return. I have to save. I have to ensure this is available for my future generations. It's available to me. So the best way to secure one's karma is to take it, put it in a nice pot, and give it to God every single day and say, this is what I am offering at your golden feet. Right? So next question, and with that we will close, and I will talk about the case study on Dr. Sriram as we go. Is there a next question? So, how do I make mundane work interesting? So, I'm showing you two pictures, right? And I'm not going to talk about a caselet in this. The left one is that of a school bus. The right one is that of a bus where some elderly people are going for their work, or not elderly people, they're grown-ups, right? They're going to work. Can you see those two pictures? And what's the biggest difference, between the two buses? The kids are really having a gala time. You remember how it was in school, right? When you used to go to school bus, or if you see a school bus even passing by, it's full of laughter, it's full of children, yelling, shouting, having a gala time when they're going to the school and they're coming back from the school. But look at these people who are grown up, like all of us, right? Imagine what has happened between the two circumstances is that we don't enjoy what we're doing in our work, right? And our work has become boring. It's become mundane. It's become repetitive. Oh my God, what will I do? I mean, I've been working here for so long. 6 years, I've not got a promotion. 10 years, look at that fellow. He's got more money than me. He's got this salary, right? That fellow's got an on-site opportunity. What did he do? So we've got all these questions that come, and there are people, many women and many men, they ask the same, what is this? I am a housewife, all day long I'm doing the same work again and again. So how do you make this life, this mundane work, interesting, right? This is the shloka which is there. Santosh, if you could bring it up, uh, which is coming from Brahmatarka, I think really actually adds a lot of meaning, which is Naham Karta Hari Karta, right? This, I am not the doer. Hari, Lord Vishnu is the doer. What does this do? It takes the pressure off us, because we don't have to bear the burden of doing all our activity ourselves. Tat puja karma chakilam. Everything I do from morning to evening is nothing but his puja. Today I am sitting and talking about this thing in a workshop. You people are listening to it. That is also God's prayer only, right? Next we have to go down and work out in a gym. That is also God's work, because I want to remain healthy. I want to be fit so that I can perform my duties properly. Now you saw the difference in the frame, because just by calling everything has his work. How can God's work become uninteresting? Because every day we are offering it to God, and God is loving it. So what do we say? My manager never recognizes. If the manager doesn't recognize us, to hell with him. But if we are offering it to God, and remember, God is always observing whatever we are doing. So tathapi mat krita puja tat prasadena nanyatha. Everything that we do, it has to come as a his prasada, or his gift to us. Tad bhaktis tat phalam mahyam tat prasada punah punaha karmanyaso haravevam vishnoho truptikara sada. So whatever we do, whatever we act, all our actions are nothing but puja to God. We all pray that whatever we do again and again, punah punaha, we want only one result out of it, that God should be satisfied. And who is the person who is the easiest to satisfy in this world? It's God. Pushpam Patram Palam Toyam, we are going to talk about in Bhakti Yoga again, is the simplest person to sort of please, isn't it? Have you ever seen a satisfied, gratified human being? Such a person does not exist, isn't it? Do we are we happy and are we contented and gratified with whatever that happens? Yeah, you say, oh, you must be very happy, you got an iPhone 13 Pro. You are waiting for this to come. Yeah, I bought it at 13 Pro, but I should have bought it in US instead of buying it in Dubai because I paid more money for it. And you know what? When I bought 13 Pro, when they're going to introduce iPhone 14 in October 20, I should have waited for 2 months. I should have waited for a better car. I should have got this. I should have got that. No matter what you do to yourself and others, you get up morning 5 o'clock. Lady gets up at 5 o'clock, cooks a lovely breakfast, and nobody even acknowledges it. Isn't it? Isn't she right to feel enchanted? He or she will feel disenchanted. But when you offer this to God, saying, okay, yes, today I have cooked. I have not cooked for my family alone, but through my family I have offered it as naivedya to Lord Krishna. Now it acquires a different meaning, and Lord Krishna is very happy with whatever you give. Does one have to do an elaborate naivedya? No, whatever you have cooked, before you offer it to anybody, just say this is offered to God, and just pray to him that may you be happy, may God be happy. And the bliss that one gets is unparalleled, right? So this is the metric. You have your desires, you have success, and you have your purpose, but at the center of everything is God. So moment you start working with with that interest and the zest, your mundane work acquires a new dimension, right? So with that, we will come to the last thing that I want to talk about, which is what is should be our action plan. Because all this is good to talk on a Sunday, but Monday morning, what should one do? I've broken this into very specific actions. Start the day with a prayer, that, and of course pray that everything that happens in a day actually goes well. That's very important, to start the day with a positive frame of mind. Second, clearly state that your work is dedicated to God, so you will give it your best. So you say, look, everything that is going to happen to me is not under my control, but still I will definitely try to give it my best. The third one, always state in your mind that God is the supreme controller of all our actions. Why is it important? Because many things will not go right that day. Many things will go terribly wrong some days. But whatever happens, He is the supreme controller of all actions. We are all very anxious in the beginning of a day. We have to write an exam. Everybody is worried. Oh, how will the exam? The moment the student comes back, he's written a great exam. What do we all say? Wow, you know what? I studied very hard. I read all the 6 textbooks to for this subject. Immediately, our pride and our ego comes out. But if somebody believes that God is the supreme controller of all our actions, whether things go right, things go wrong, and anything in between, we are attributing it to God and saying, you are the controller, and things have happened because this is what you want to do. At the beginning of every task or action, remember to pray to God. Very important. See, we cannot be in that state all along, but at least in the beginning of a task, you're opening a laptop, say, pray to God, saying, hope, I'm beginning at God, I'm beginning a task today. Please help me in completing this task to the best of my ability. And finally, at the end of the task or action or a day, offer all the fruits of the action to God and tell Him that, look, whatever has happened, I'm offering it today uh, at your feet. So you start the day with a prayer, you end the day with a prayer, offering everything that you have done in a day to Him, and then leave the decision to Him. It's like coming out of an exam. Once you've handed over the answer paper, everything is left to the system. So if you want a one-line shloka, one-line summary of the Kuru of the Karma Yoga, it is Kuru Bhangshvacha Karma Nijam Niyatam Haripada Vinamratiya Sasatam Harireva Paro Harireva Guru Harireva Jagat Pitrumatragati. Whatever is your Niyata Karma, please do that. Offer everything that you have at the feet of Sri Hari, because he is the Para, he is the Guru, and he is the Matru and Pitru, or the mother and father, the parent of the entire universe. This is a one line superb shloka of extracted, as all of you would know, from the third chapter of Dvadasha Stotra written by Madhvacharya. So we will talk more about Karma Yoga, but we will take a pause here and take a question. Santosh, over to you.
Thank you, Sundar. So we now open the forum for question and answer. So if you have any questions, do post it in the comment section for us to uh, take it up. Sundar, we have one question by from Suresh. He's asking. He says, what exactly the meaning of aparoksha?
Yeah, I think Sri Vijay Upendra has answered it well, which is saying that it's a knowledge with skill set. There are using wisdom plays a vital part of a common man. So Aparoksha Gnana, to put it in simple words, is actually the understanding or being able to see the reflection of God within you, right? We talked about karma charana, so we have we need to start by praying to God in the form of an idol. It's very difficult. If you see, how do you get a spiritual frame of mind if one does not have uh, a god form of a god? But over a period of time, this whole concept, the spiritual concept, needs to start becoming internalized. And when one is able to see the god within himself, that is called aparoksha gnana. Knowing which form of god is there within you is aparoksha gnana. So that is the concept of aparoksha gnana, and closely related to the topic of bimba paroksha. So
Right.
again, in the karma yoga workshop next, we're going to be talking about this topic in greater detail, but I hope I have answered Shri Suresh's question.
Right. Sundar, just to summarize, is like when I do an action, it's not the action that matters. It is the intention behind that action that determines the state of mind. So, what you're trying to say is that it's culmination of both karma and jnana. So it both would has to go hand in hand. Uh,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah. So what if I have to sort of get it all together, what one needs to think about is, our karma and whatever actions that we take have to come with a backdrop of a certain knowledge that we need to have, right? It could be even a simple thing about reciting a shloka, right? We should know what it means. Try to understand at least at a simple way what it means before we do it. So that gnana of whatever we do, the understanding of God, is very very essential in our pursuit of that eternal bliss. So if you ask me, there is no dilemma. Karma yoga or gnana yoga, they all go hand in hand. So the better is the practice of karma. It embellishes gnana. The better is the gnanarjana done. It embellishes the karma. So it these two keep taking us. So if you imagine, it's going like this in the spiritual ladder. You roll it up between these two things. The moment one of them don't work, or let us say there are some people who would like to believe that they are, they have achieved all the gnana that is there in the world. They need not, they did not practice karma. Gita is very vehemently against it, saying if somebody does not perform the karma that he is supposed to do, then he is in for very big trouble, because he goes straight to the hell.
Correct. So there is also that I've noticed is when people go through experiences which are very disappointing or frustrating. Maybe like you've just put it. You've been forced to do an activity which you don't like, or probably someone is going through a relationship problems. There are a lot of emotions that one goes through, and you become very immobile or like nishkriyate kind of a stage where you don't want to do karmas, and like people just ask why me. So and you don't get an action, but how do you like would you still push yourself and say that it's God's willing, and then you keep pushing, or how do you sort of how do you rephrase or put your mindset into, like how should one sort of
Yes. So this is exactly the state of mind of Arjuna, right?
correct?
I mean, we are very, 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 and we can keep on adding any more veries after this. Very ordinary mortals in front of a great person like Arjuna. In fact, in the Gita Tatparya Nirnaya, Sri Madhvacharya spends a lot of time establishing that Arjuna is no ordinary being. The reason he brings it out is that if you see, if one were to dismiss him as someone who is mentally ill, what would we say? Oh my God, he might. I don't know how Arjuna could, even think about, asking these questions. Imagine you were in Krishna's position, or I was in Krishna's position, and Arjuna had asked us a few moments before the war, saying that, look, these are my fundamental questions. I don't want to fight this war. You will be furious. Imagine a teacher is passing by an examination hall. The examination is going to start in 30 minutes, and a group of students come to him and said, "Sir, can you please explain this concept? Can you please tell me how to solve this problem?" What will the teacher say? What the hell were you doing for one long year? Why are you coming and asking me now? That's a question that we ask. But Arjuna is no ordinary warrior. He's standing in front of the person par extraordinaire, who is Lord Krishna himself. And the coming back to a question, Arjuna is in that state as what we call as depression today. He's gone into fairly an acute situation, because now that depression has started manifesting in the form of a paralysis. He is getting paralyzed. He's not able to move. He's sweating, and he has become extremely nervous, so much so that he is not able to even lift his bow. Forget about fighting a war. So it's not in an ordinary situation that he is. But at that time, the advice that Lord Krishna gives to him is something which is the flow of Bhagavad Gita, which we will say in a few, we will see in the next few workshops. But what to say, answer your question, what in those situations, whatever that is feeling, one should not give up that karma charani, because Gnana Yoga at that time becomes difficult, right? So what does Krishna start with? He starts with karma charana. He first talks about what should one do, because imagine the person is already in a depressed mood, and today you are asking him to do something which is very very abstract. This, it may not be possible, but through practice of certain things like meditation, to practice of things like recitation of shloka, you suddenly feel energized, right? So one should take that path. So he should start doing. Yes, sometimes we are not in that frame of mind even to do that. That time we should do what Arjuna did, because what Arjuna did was very smart. He asked a set of questions, and he said, if you tell me what is good for me, and I will do what you are telling. Karishyatama vachanam tava. After Arjuna, Krishna told him everything. He said, I'm prepared to do whatever you are telling me. That should be our order of submission. When we are not well, what do? We go to a doctor. And what do? Sometimes we are not even energetic to tell him what is wrong with us. Forget about getting cured. So the doctor says, what happened to you? That the patient can't even answer. So the doctor then comes, he tests and say, okay, something must be wrong, and he gives the medicines and the cure for this. So Krishna is not an ordinary doctor. He's he's a Dhanvantari of the world. Every doctor, every Ayurvedic medicine, every substance, every individual gets his curative power from him, right? So therefore one should just submit at that point in time, and just try to do as many karmas as possible. So, and over a period of time, um, we see how situation can change very dramatically. This is not a hypothetical situation. We've heard in the last 16 years that we've been conducting Madhvacharya for the youth workshop, we get crisis calls from several of our audiences, who ask us, what do I do, because I'm in this kind of state. I've reached a stage in my life when nothing is working for me. What do I do? That time we say, recite Vishnu Sahasranama. They say, I can't even do that. Then say, okay, listen to Vishnu Sahasranam. I'm sure you can do that. And just listen to it mechanically. You will see, even without being able to concentrate, we reach that state sometimes. At that time, you see how that will start curing you. So, what does the doctor do? The doctor just gives you medicine. And what do? just take the medicine blindly. We don't understand anyway what medicine is being given, but it starts to cure. So God will cure those people who have that faith. What did Arjuna say? Karishyatama vachanam tam. Very important. Well, what did Duryodhana do at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita or the beginning of the war? He also asked a set of questions to Drona. Did he stand there to get the answers from him? No, he just walked off. He said, I'm feeling our army is weak. I'm feeling their army is stronger," and then walked off. Had he waited, maybe he would have got an answer. Arjuna, yes, he's also worried, he's also anxious, but he decides that he's going to listen to Lord Krishna. And that's what we should do.
Right. Another last question from Anand. Should we practice both Karma Yoga along with Jnana Yoga, or should it be focused only one to get complete and then pursue the other one?
Yeah. So as we said, we have to pursue both of them. The proportion is something that we should decide, because at different stages of life, different circumstances, we may be able to pursue both of them, in different quantums. But important thing is, we should be focused on getting that kind of a knowledge at all times, right? So someday it may not be possible for us to study for 3 hours. It's okay. But if we can spend even 15 minutes to keep that continuity, that particular day, I will read only one shloka of Bhagavad Gita, and sleep. That's also good, right? So karma charane and Gnana Yoga have to come together. But very important thing, whatever is the mandatory or vihita karma, that cannot be given up. So, for example, performing Sandhya Vandanam for a Brahmin, for fighting a war for a Kshatriya, there is absolutely no let up, right? Is there a holiday for army? No, correct. Is there a holiday for hospitals? No, right? So these are, what do we say, essential services. So karma, whatever is the vihita karma, is like essential services for the spiritual pursuit, that cannot be given up. One can decide, okay, today I'm not in a frame of mind to pray for 3 hours. Fine, I will do meditation for 15 minutes. That's good enough. Tomorrow I will do more. I'll try to get back. But whatever one is supposed to do, he is supposed to do it without fear.
Another question from Suresh. Can a human being get moksha after Aparuksha Jnana and God's grace, or one has to evolve through the stages as per Taratamya?
So the thing is, one will never get to that state of moksha, of aproksha jnana, without following these steps. These steps are mandatory. If somebody tells you that he is getting into graduation, what does it mean? He has passed 12th standard. Do we ask him, has he passed 10th standard also? That's a question which is understood. These steps are mandatory for everybody. So when he says the topic of hierarchy, the hierarchy also has come because of this, of hierarchy of Gnana. This hierarchy is nothing but hierarchy of Gnana. Who is the most knowledgeable? Lord Vishnu. Next to him, who is the most knowledgeable about Narayana, if not fully so, is Goddess Lakshmi. The next is Brahma, so and so on and so forth. So the thing about reaching the state of Aproksha Gnana, one has to go through these steps only.
Cool. So I request all the viewers to uh, start putting down your questions if you have. So that meanwhile, I'll just touch upon a couple of other slides. So this is the schedule that we have put up for the entire year. So today is 21st. We are talking about Karma and Jnana Yoga. So the next workshop that we'll be having on 18th September, and the subsequent workshops, which will be on Raghavendra Swami's unique insights on Bhagavad Gita, which will be exclusively spoken on Karma, Dhyana, and Yoga, followed by an open house. So it will be an offline event where all the spiritual enthusiasts could join us. Ask any questions to the speaker. That's an interesting concept that we put off. And then moving in the month of 2023, which is Jan, we have Upanishad series where we'll be talking about the essence of Vedic philosophy, and then followed by how should one structure oneself in the way of, in the path of sadhana, the path and the milestone is spiritual journey. And then moving on in the month of March, we'll be talking about learning the Madhva Shastra. So how should one structure? What are the kind of granthas that are pursuit of the philosophy? And then we'll be touching upon Shastras. How do we prove it? The system of proofs in Indian philosophy. And then moving on, we'll be talking upon glories of Vishnu Sahasrama. We had covered this session initially. We are again bringing back talking about the glories of Vishnu Sahasrama and the all the names. And we'll be touching upon some of the essential names there. And then followed by lives and works of Yathigalu. We'll be speaking on Vadirajaru, Yasarayaru, and Jayatith. This is uh, an important notice to all the viewers. So we have put up few videos on YouTube recently. We have touched upon 3 lessons from the lives and works of Jayatirtharu, the amazing life of Jayatirtha. These are just about 10 to 15 minute kind of a video. It's easy to consume. So I request all the viewers to check out these videos. Go to Madhvacharya for Youth YouTube handle, and then you can watch these videos. And we also had a similar small snippet kind of a video on for Raghavendra Swami Aradhane. It is 3 inspiring lessons of from life of Raghavendra Swami and the unique. We all chant Pujyaya Raghavendra, and it's a very famous shloka. And then what does it actually mean by? So Sundar has actually covered this shloka. It's a small 10-minute video easy to consume. So I request all of you to check out the channel and consume these videos. Moving on, a request to all the participants. So please suggest us. We've put up a calendar for the entire year, but still we would request, nudge the viewers to come back, tell us the kind of topics and the questions that you have. Please don't hesitate. Please do write in to us at Madhvacharya 4th youth@gmail.com. This is the email ID. So we request all of the viewers to write your questions if you have so, or any other suggestions that you have to better this platform. And someone wants to be a volunteer, please do write into us. We would definitely consider. And we are also present in these many channels, these many platforms. Be it YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. The handle is Madhvacharya for Youth. So please do follow us, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, do write into us. So the next workshop, which will be unique insights from Bhagavad Gita, which will be a unique perspective of Raghavendra Swami on Karma Yoga. So please do block in your calendars, which is on 18 September, which is from 3:30 to 4:30. So request you, all the viewers, to participate in this workshop. So we have reached almost. Any final thoughts, Sundar? I know. I think it's raining. I think don't really take too much of time. So any final thoughts?
No, I think, Santosh, we have covered whatever we wanted to do in this particular workshop. As you know, we've been launching these short videos so that people can get a kind of a gist of Raghavendra Swamiji's life and also the life of Sri Jayatirtharu. So we are going to be giving out lot more content which is contextual based on the several questions that we get. So from now on, we will be covering these topics, some of them in the workshop format, some of them in the video format as well. So I would request all the viewers to keep tracking all these channels, and you will get it. If you want to be part of any WhatsApp group, etc., please do let us know at any of our handles and email addresses that Santosh has talked about. We'll go forward. And one more thing, one change that we would like to make forward is that we are actually keeping in the subsequent versions of the workshop. We'll have the workshop for about 45 minutes. where the content will be delivered for about 20 minutes, giving more time for us, for our uh, viewers to ask questions and make it much more interactive. This is workshop for the youth, so it should reflect that spirit of inquiry as much. So thanks again for being for participating, and look forward to having you in our next workshop. Thank you, Santosh.
Thank you, Sundar.
Thank you.
Thank you all.